You may have heard that the universe is expanding, but have you ever wondered just exactly how do we know that? Well, find out in this episode of Mimus Fractalus. We need to know about the Doppler Effect. The Doppler Effect is named after 19th century mathematician and physicist Christian Doppler. Doppler discovered that the observed frequency of a wave depends on the relative speed of the source and the observer. But what does that mean? To explain what that means, let's look at the situation of a car passing by with its horn blaring. The horn sounds different before and after it passes. In particular, it had a higher pitch before it passed and a lower pitch after it passed. Why is this the case? Well, the horn of the car is constantly producing waves that go out in all directions. However, while the car is approaching the observer, it is like the car is catching up to the waves that it sent out, effectively making the wavelengths shorter. With a shorter wavelength, there is then a higher frequency and consequently a sound with a higher pitch, because pitch is directly related to the frequency of the sound that is made. While the car is moving away from the observer, it is like the car is leaving the waves behind that it had sent out, effectively making the wavelength longer. A larger wavelength means a smaller frequency and hence a lower pitched sound. The cool thing about the Doppler effect is that it doesn't only work for sound waves, it even works for water waves and electromagnetic waves such as light. In 1929, American astronomer Edwin Hubble was studying stars and galaxies and noting their colors. He noticed that the majority of stars were red-shifting and the minority were blue-shifted. What does that mean? Well, first, it is important to note that the color red has a longer wavelength than the color blue. Since the majority had a red shift towards the red end of the spectrum, that meant that they were moving away from us. He also plotted a graph comparing the distances of galaxies and how much they were redshifted. He found a direct relationship between the two as seen on this graph. Based on this, he was able to coin Hubble's law, which states that galaxies are moving away from the Earth at speeds proportional to their distances. Or in other words, the further away they are, then the faster they are moving away from the Earth. And this was based on observations in all directions, not just in one particular direction. Hence, he concluded that the universe is expanding in all directions. It is important to note that not all galaxies are moving away from us. In fact, our closest neighbor, the Andromeda Galaxy, is set to collide with our galaxy, the Milky Way. But you can rest easy, that's not set to happen for another 4.5 billion years. And even when it happens, the two galaxies are going to pass through each other, more so than collide into each other.